Folashade snuck into the underground space in her backyard with food every midnight, in secret. She would stay for hours, gisting and laughing loudly with unknown persons. A long time ago, in the village of Ara-epo, where hills are tall and vegetation was nothing but the sweetest, a young woman lived there named Folashade. Folashade was tall, beautiful, with a dark glowing skin, and she would always be at the market to sell vegetables to the villagers, and even the people who travelled from neighbouring villages to enjoy the richness of the vegetables in Ara-epo. Folashade had the best character as well. People praised her for not just her beauty and hard work, but also for her respect and kind heart towards everybody she comes across every single time. Folashade eventually got into a relationship with the village palm wine tapper's son, Akande. Akande is the most suitable match for Folashade. People rejoiced when they heard one of the best damsels in town would be married, while many other maidens envied her for bagging the most suitable man in Ara-epo. The wedding preparations had started in earnest. Folashade started getting fabrics and other necessities for the wedding. She would meet up with Akande in the evening, and they would play love under the tree and profess their feelings for each other. Akande would rub her shiny hair and speak of how he cannot wait to have her as his wife. They would argue about the number of kids to have and even joke about the gender of their children and whom they want their kids to look like. To them, they may have the whole world, but the gift of a family to call their own would always supersede any other blessing there is or could ever be. Akande brought up the fact that his parents are still yet to meet up with Folashade's parents, as that is a fundamental step in the traditional rites attached to being married. You said your parents live in the village of Oluton, and your extended families are also there and reside there. When do we meet them officially, my love? My parents won't stop asking questions, Akande asked. Immediately, Folashade became uncomfortable, as she looked away to avoid eye contact with Akande.
Our great-grandmother was just buried. That is why we have not arranged a meeting yet. I promise you, they will meet soon.
The wedding day was fast approaching, and on many occasions, Akande would ask Folashade for a meeting with her parents, and she would come up with one excuse or the other. This issue became bothersome to Akande so much that one day, after the hectic activity at the forest, Akande went straight to Folashade's store with a heavy face. "Love of my life, what is wrong with you?" she asked. "Do you not want to marry me? Why do you keep delaying our meeting with your parents? Why do you always get angry when I bring up your parents, and why is it that hard for you to talk about your parents?" he asked with a heavy face. Folashade started weeping profusely, with words unsaid, and her reaction to his complaint was all the proof that Akande needed to be sure that indeed there was trouble in the land and a problem deeply loomed ahead of their union. He decided to take matters into his hands. The next day, Akande went in search of his friend, the brave and known hunter. He is a hunter that deals with animal sales across villages. He pleaded with his friend to take this one trip, for him to find out the route of his soon-to-be beloved woman. "You know no ceremony can take place without a confirmation of my woman's ancestry by meeting her people. Please help me out before we begin to have problems," Akande pleaded. He set out the next day to investigate the matter on his behalf, and went around Oluton village to inquire about who Folashade's parents are, and why they have decided not to make plans to make their daughter's marriage a success. At dawn, Shapu the hunter set out to Oluton to find Folashade's parents. He knocked on several homes, visited the king, and even spoke to the elderly who have a record of people in the village, but Folashade's father's name never even existed in the history of the village. He was told to look elsewhere for answers, as nobody in the village fit the description. It took him a full day of searching and looking, yet all was to no avail, as he found no one or family that fit into the description of what Akande said Folashade described her parents to be. After the exercise of futility, he decided to return home. Shapu went back to Akande to give him a response to his request. He narrated how he searched for humans like he was searching for a pin, and yet all was to no avail, as he found no one who has a child named Folashade and lives in Ara-epo. He concluded by saying, "My friend, if I am to stay sincere with you, it feels like her parents do not exist at all. I think she lied to you about their existence." Akande was left in a state of confusion, as the woman he deeply loves and respects seemed to be one who enjoys lying to him and hurting his feelings. He thanked Shepu for his help and begged him not to tell this to anyone, as someone finding out this truth could thwart their wedding plans, most especially his parents. Shepu promised to keep his secret and prioritize their relationship. What the two of them did not know was that Apik was eavesdropping from the main door, as they spoke under the shed in front of Shepu's house. Apik is Shepu's wife and one of the biggest gossips in the village. With her receding hairline, she would stand at junctions, in front of people's houses, and even abandon her meat market just to talk about others and spread rumors. The moment she heard the conversation between Akande and her husband, she felt energized and fulfilled and immediately saw a way to bring down the damsel, who is the envy of every woman in the village. She immediately tied her wrapper tight and stormed the market square. She greeted the pepper seller and told her, "Did you think Folashade's parents might just be ghosts? Our new bride lied about her identity," she whispered as the pepper seller dragged her back and eventually followed her to hear more of the gist. Apik went on and on until every single woman in the market surrounded her and gathered close to her. They all stood akimbo, with surprise in their faces and unbelief as to the situation of the bride of honor. Soonest, Folashade was surprised as to why she was being looked at like a plague and people were giving her a side eye. She took a few steps to the gathering, and everyone kept quiet. They immediately dispersed, and she was left standing. Bothered by the incident, Folashade decided to close early. She immediately packed up her goods and dashed out of the market while many eyes were still on her. She walked really fast with so much anxiety on her way back to the house, ruminating on what the problem could be. On getting home, Folashade rushed to her backyard, took off the mat she covered the floor with, and opened an underground cover where she rushed into. Upon sighting a breathing creature, she heaved a sigh of relief. "Oh, for a moment, I thought they found you. I thought my secret is in the open." There lay two fat tortoises who speak like humans there in the underground, breathing healthily. The dark, thick one spoke. "Folashade, why did you rush in such a panic state, my daughter?" She broke down in tears, wailing that she cannot do this anymore. Akande deserves a woman who does not call animals her parents, and she would open up to him about who her parents were and her true ancestry. "No, you cannot do that. Once you do, you simply become a tortoise like us. The curse of the family will befall you. Please do not do that." Folashade dashed out without listening and headed straight to Akande's farm. There he was, just rounding up for the day. His heavy face could not manage a smile like he usually does whenever he sees his woman approaching. Instead, he offered a wooden stool and sat next to her. "Akande, my husband-to-be, I am sorry for putting you in a tight position." She started by telling Akande that she has a lot to tell him, and Akande told her to pause and asked why she chose to deceive him, and why she lied about her parents. Folashade was surprised to hear that Akande had been doing some digging about her. "Could that be the cause of the rumor in the market?" she said aloud. "What rumor?" "Only myself and Shepu know about this," he said. "You mean the hunter, Apik's husband? She must have been telling the entire village about me, and maybe the elders must have heard by now that I lied about my ancestry to stay in the village." She jumped on her feet. "I need to go. My parents are in danger." Akande, feeling confused, ran after her, and they made a huge run to Folashade's house. She ran straight to the hideout, where her parents were no longer there. Folashade fell to her feet and broke down in tears. Akande, still trying to understand, asked what was wrong. Folashade explained that her father was given birth to in a powerful kingdom of rivalry between princes. Therefore, when the king has gotten one son, Every other one is born as different things, though human, but they look like different animals. Her father was a prince who was born as a tortoise and cast out of his kingdom. He made friends with a beautiful woman on his farm, who happened to be her mother, and she was conceived. Since she is her father's child, she was supposed to be born as a tortoise, but through the help of a priest, her mother could trade her beauty for her, and she transformed into a tortoise on her 12th birthday. Since then, Folashade had been looking after her father and mother. They found peace in this town after wandering for a while, and though the life she wanted was to be their child forever, she fell in love with Akande, and everything changed. Akande wept harsh tears, feeling bad for the love of his life. He raised her up and cleaned her tears. Folashade was scared that Akande would hate her after the story of her root. He assured her he would always be there for her and loved her even more. They would find a way to break her parents' curse, and if not, they would simply continue to care for them in secret, like she had always done. Akande told his parents that Folashade's parents had died and she was too scared to tell them, and that silenced the rumor. Instead, people felt bad for Folashade. The marriage took place. Meanwhile, the whereabouts of Folashade's parents was unknown. She would leave food in the underground house and refuse to sell the house, while hoping they would come back to her one day.